guys, and welcome back to another book video with your two favorite book nerds, Amy
and Kelly.
Today we're talking about the books that we read in November. I guess I'll just go ahead and start with that. So, in November, I read a total of 4 books, not 3, 4 books. Ooh. Yeah! I had 0 5 stars, 0 4 stars, 1 3 star, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. And then I had 2 2 stars, which was Silver Nitrate. Kelly has Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And also Signal to Noise by Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
Oh, I got one too. Oh man, that's a bummer because I gotta read that too.
Yeah, that was rough. And then I had 1 star, which was You by Carolyn Kepnes. I probably shouldn't include this one as a read book because I didn't finish it. But I got the majority of the way. So,
good enough.
It's fine. It's fine. So, with all of that, my average rating for November was 2 stars.
Yay.
Yay. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I had 6 books. So I also had Silver Nitrate, which I gave 3 stars to. I read Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher, which I gave 4 stars. I also read the second book in this series, Paladin's Strength, which I also gave 4 stars to. I read Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, which I gave 5 stars to. You didn't finish that?
No, I still
You
have
were
it.
like halfway through last time we talked about it.
Yeah, but then I got distracted. These were all audiobooks, so...
Okay, I gave 5 stars, which is the sequel to Divine Rivals. And then I read No Bullet Got Me Yet by John Stancifer, which I gave 3 stars to. And I read Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, which I gave 2 stars to. So my average was 3.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like to see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Pages. Read a total of 1,401 pages for average book length of 350. My longest book was this one for sure, unfortunately, and my shortest book I think was this one. Sad day. The one that I liked the most was the shortest, and the one I hated the most was the longest. That sums up November.
Naturally. All right, well, I read 2,277 pages for an average length of 380. My shortest was Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and my longest was Paladin's Strength by T. Kingfisher, which was 445.
Authors. Let's see here. There were 2 authors that were new to me. Christina Lauren and Carolyn Kepnes. And then Sylvia Moreno Garcia is one that I've read from before. And I will read from Sylvia Moreno Garcia and Christina Lauren again. Carolyn Kepnes can go fly a kite.
No more of that.
No.
I have 2 new ones, which is Jessica Knoll and John Stancifer. And I will probably not read from any of those 2 again. Repeats would be T. Kingfisher, Rebecca Ross, and Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And yes, I will read from all 3 of them.
Alright, and finally we have genres. I had 1 romance, 1 thriller, 1 fantasy, and 1 horror.
Horror is what I have it as,
I guess. So, yeah.
I had 1 horror, 1 historical fiction, 1 biography, and 3 romantasy.
Nice.
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 None of what I usually read.
No, not
at all.
Alrighty, let's get into these books real quick. So, not going to talk about Silver Nitrate because we have an entire video dedicated to this for our book club. So, go and check that out. Just know I didn't like it. Neither one of us really liked it.
No.
We were let down. And speaking of being let down by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, we have Signal to Noise.
2 in a row.
Yeah. This book is about some teenagers who find out that they can perform magic by using records. Vinyl records. I'm not gonna rant. This book, for having that premise, it sounds great. But there's barely any magic in this book. It's just, there's like a couple of scenes involving magic, and then it's like all of a sudden it's just gone, and then it comes back when it's convenient, and then it's gone again. There's zero explanation as to how the magic works, and how our main character, like one of the main characters, she apparently is like this master witch who has all the most power, like she's the most powerful of them all, but there's no explanation as to why that is, why she's the most powerful, how she knows what records are going to produce magic, because not all records produce magic, only certain ones, and they like burn to the touch, and that's how she knows. But like, there's zero explanation to any of it. It's absolutely terrible. Meche, I wanted to punch her in the face every time that she came in the book, which is the entire book. She's a terrible person, terrible character, absolutely zero growth to her. Her adult, because there's like it goes back in time, and then it's like present day, and then past, like when they're growing up and using the magic, and then when they're adults, she's coming back because her dad died or something like that, and so she has to revisit her past, and her friends aren't her friends anymore because something broke them up, and what broke them up was the stupidest shit I ever heard. And
I'm not gonna like this book either.
No. And she was just, the way that they acted as adults was the way that they acted when they were kids. Absolutely no growth, and it just didn't make any sense at all. And she, like I said, she was just a terrible person. Terrible person. Blech. Also, there were way too many stories trying to happen in this book. We had romance that got started. We had a revenge plot that got started. We had some other like teen drama stuff that got started. And then we had some like coming of age things. And then we had the magic. And then we had like the kind of like a little bit of like a bad home life abuse kind of thing. Like just like thrown in the sprinkle. Like we had so many things happening, and they all started. They never finished. They never got fleshed out. Nothing happened. Just like, oh my god, pick a storyline and stick with it. You're gonna talk about magical records, talk about magical records. Okay? And the whole, like, then moving on to the adulthood, it was like a really bad cop-out because she couldn't figure out how she actually wanted to make the magic work. And so she's like, I'm just gonna make it so that now they're adults. Did not like it. It is not good.
I wonder. I think that might have been her first book.
Well,
I believe.
Maybe so.
I think this is her debut.
Yeah. I said I wasn't gonna rant, and I kind of ranted a little bit. So
just a little. That's okay.
Let's just move on to another book that I'm gonna try my best to not rant about, and that is You by Carolyn Kepnes. So they have made this into a TV show on Netflix. I have watched every episode. I'm all caught up on through all the seasons, all of that. I really enjoy the show. The book, however, is one of the worst things that I've ever let my ears hear, because I listened to the audiobook of this and I wanted to literally stab my ears because it would have been more enjoyable than listening to this book. This book is about Joe Goldberg and his obsession with this girl named Beck, and he pretty much is a stalker and tries to get her to fall in love with him, and along the way of all of that he does some really shitty things and really creepy things and really just unwell things to try and keep her in his life. And in the show, if you've seen it, it's narrated by him. So we get a lot of insight into who he is and into his mind and all of that. So it made sense that this book would also be narrated by him and told from his point of view. I was expecting that. The show, however, since you have a lot of visuals, it doesn't need to be narrated all of the time by Joe. And I think that's the only reason that I like it. Because Joe is a effed up character. He's an effed up person. And having this much insight into his mind made me want to barf all of the time. It was so bad. It was just so, graphically sexual and just disgusting all of the time. Like, all of the time. It was just so much all of the time. Oh. I can't with this book. I can't with this book. It was just way too much. Like, this gave me too much insight into his mind, and I didn't want any of it. Like, I understand that this was kind of trying to show us his reasonings, but his reasonings didn't actually, like, make any sense. And, like, the author was also, like, trying to make us feel some compassion for Joe, but it wasn't working. There was no part in this did I ever feel like, oh, okay. There was too many times where he had to try and explain himself to us, and the explanation didn't make any sense, or like he would contradict himself all of the time, and then also he was sitting there being like, oh, I'm so much better than all of these people because I am this way, and blah, blah, blah. Like, and he was just so snobby and always looked down on other people because they read Dan Brown. She's like, oh, you read Dan Brown? You know, like, my God, sir. It was gross. And then every time that he was talking about Beck, it was just always about something sexual and how he would watch her do things, and everything that he was watching her do was very graphically explained, and it was really bad. Like, I would read Haunting Adeline again than read this book. I enjoyed Haunting Adeline more than this book. It was just so bad. It was just, like, gross. Yeah, I mean, that is...
an unreliable narrator.
Right. Like, I think that, yeah, you're right. Like, it is the point, but I just don't like books like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, not to that extent. And I don't think that it needed to be that graphic.
Well, I was going to say, did it need to go quite that far?
No, like, just you could have still got the point across. Like, if it wouldn't have had all of the graphic stuff in it, it wouldn't have been that bad of a book. But it was, every single page had something on it about what he wanted to do to her, or about what he saw her do to herself, or I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Less is more sometimes, authors. Less is more.
Yeah. So then, let's switch gears to a fun little Christmas romance. So we have In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This book is about Malin, who, her and her family, they travel to Utah to a cabin that is owned by, like, one of her parents' like best friends. And so her parents' best friends and her family and then some of their other friends, they all fly to Utah for Christmas and gather there as a group and celebrate the holiday together every year, and that's just their tradition. Well, Malin and everybody else finds out that the friends that own the cabin are selling it because they just can't afford to upkeep it anymore, and it's just too much work, and unfortunately that's just the decision that they came to. And so on the way home, Malin and her family get into a car accident, and when she wakes up, she is back reliving at the start of their Christmas vacation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of like a Groundhog Day situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And she has to keep reliving her Christmas holiday because she asks, like, the universe, like, take me to where I am happy, or show me what will make me happy. And that brings her back to the Christmas. And it was cute. Like, there was a lot of good, like, Christmas vibes in this book. Like, this is a perfect book to read this time of year. I very much appreciated that. And the whole, just like, the whole friends gathering as a family, Christmas, and their little Christmas traditions. It's like, oh my gosh, my heart. And I wish so badly. I literally, after I got done reading this book, I text my friend Cass, and I'm just like, we need to buy a cabin in Colorado or Utah so we can go there for Christmas. And we talked about that last night. I was with her last night with Cass and her husband and our friend, I guess their cousin Tom, and we're like, Amy wants to buy a cabin in Colorado, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna buy a cabin in Colorado. So yeah, I definitely love that aspect of it a lot. The romance in this book, however, it wasn't it for me. There were some scenes that were kind of cutesy.
Get down. Get down. Down. Down, Sarge.
But yeah, so there were some scenes that were cute, and the very end was kind of cute too. But as far as the rest of the book and the building of the romance and all of that, I just didn't think it was the best. There wasn't really that much sexual tension. There really wasn't anything that made me go like, oh, it was just kind of like too convenient of a thing. Like, oh, I've had a crush on you forever, and oh, okay, I like you, and now we're a couple, and it's hot and heavy, and I'm like, where did this come from? Kind of thing. I don't know. It just kind of fell flat for me overall, and it just went way too, like, from 0 to 100 way too fast, and I wanted a little bit more build up. It just seemed like it was all way too easy with that. Also, the time travel plot in this book, the Groundhog Day, the whole point of the story, it was dropped very quickly, and it was very unfortunate. Like, she went back like 1 or 2 times, and then after that it's like, there's no more time travel, and nothing was ever explained as to why she got thrown back in time. There was never anything about like what happened to like the OG Maylin, like that was in the car accident and then sent back, never went back to her or anything like that. There was just like, it happened, and then something inconvenient happened, and we restarted, and then now here we, like something we didn't want to explain, and now here we are. And then we're done with that. We're done with that. We're moving on. And now everything's all hunky-dory and it's perfect.
Oh.
And I was really sad. There were a lot of questions that were left unexplained, and a lot of things I'm just like, but like, what happened? So, yeah. And I also do feel like there were too many characters in this book as well. Like, I love the whole, like, kind of mismatched family thing of it all, but I don't think that every character in this book needed to be there, because there were really only a few of them that were actually involved in the story, and the rest were just kind of there as filler characters. And at the very beginning, that made it really confusing to follow, because you're just being thrown name after name after name after name of all these people that are at the cabin and all their kids and Sarge and all of that stuff. So it just was kind of confusing, and I didn't think that they needed all of those characters. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, it was cute, lighthearted Christmas. If you don't think too hard about it, then it'll be a great little read. But yeah, I don't know. It was alright. So that was my November.
Was that 4 books?
Yeah, because I didn't talk about Silver Nitrate.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, so my 6. I will also not talk about Silver Nitrate because, again, this was our book club pick for October.
Yes.
Right? So there's a whole video on that you can go watch. 1980s Mexico City and the film industry. Has some throwbacks to old films, too. Cool premise, not so great on the execution. Also, I'm not going to talk about Bright Young Women by Jessica Nolk because we just had our book club discussion. This was the book club for November. We just had that book discussion. Also, basically, it is true crime, fictionalized true crime, but it's really true crime. It's half fiction, half true. I don't know.
It's like 90% fiction and 10% true.
Yeah.
Or something.
So,
I don't know.
I don't
wasn't
know.
very good either.
Go
Good-
watch that video. Not a huge fan.
Good premise, terrible execution.
Again, not a fan. Okay, so Ruthless Vows, which I will talk about next because I can't really talk about it a lot. It is by Rebecca Ross. It is the sequel to Divine Rivals. It is the exact, I mean, it happened right away, like picks up 2 weeks after where Divine Rivals leaves off. Can't really talk about the story much without spoilers. So, I will just say there is very much a spy behind enemy lines World War II vibe to this. So in this world there are 2 gods and they are at war with each other, and there's a whole backstory according to that, but like they each call humans to be their soldiers for them and going to war. So that's the wartime setting, and one of our main characters, Roman, is actually behind enemy lines with the god Dakars, or Dakre, I don't know how to pronounce it, with his forces, while Iris is back in the city of, I don't remember what the city's called. It starts with an O. I remember that. But back in the city, kind of back to her journalism stuff. She has her brother back with her, so there's some tension and conflict there a little bit. But just as basically, actually Iris does go back to the front for a little while, and then comes back to the city. That's not really a spoiler. I mean, that's just something that happens. She's bopping all over the place, but she's reporting again. So, she's doing that. I don't know if there's anything else, but she is getting intel from the other side, from the spy in the other side, and feeding it through to,
Enva?
Enva is the other god. Feeding it to Enva's forces, and she, you know, anyway, that's the whole vibe of the book. And I did not like it as well as Divine Rivals. I gave it 5 stars, but that whole like spy kind of stuff, like sneaking and will I get caught, and it's the reason I don't really like heist books very well, because I don't, that tension, that not knowing what's going to happen if you're going to get caught, I don't like that. It makes my blood pressure skyrocket, and I just don't have a good time with it. But it was a very well written book, and per Rebecca Ross, she rips your heart out and puts you right back together again. And I swear, so many times I had no idea what was going to happen in this book. I thought I had it figured out. I thought I knew where it was going, and bam, it just all blew up. And a couple times literally blew up, but it was crazy. So, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. That is the end of that duology. So, okay, so my next book is No Bullet Got Me Yet, The Relentless Faith of Father Capon by John Stancifer. I said in one of our other videos when I was talking about this, excuse me, I am a docent in the museum in Father Capon's hometown, of course dedicated to his life. He was a soldier chaplain in World War II and also in Korea. And in Korea he was captured and sent to a prisoner war camp where he died there. But this is the latest addition to the canon of books about his life. So it's a biography talking about him. I don't think it's the best book written by him. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I did find a couple of incorrect things. But I mean, on the whole, it's okay. If you like a book, a kind of biography book that focuses very much on details, like of the war, like talks about the battalions and troop movements and what kind of ammo, the guns that were going off, the tanks they were driving, the jeeps that they had, those kind of details about war, if you like that, this would be the book about Father Capon to read. If you're not so much into that, the better book about him to start with is The Miracle of Father Capon. And then what I would read after that is The Story of Father Capon by Monsignor Tani. This is not a bad book, though. It is good. A good addition to the books that are written about him. The two books that I have last are Paladin's Grace and Paladin's Strength by T. Kingfisher. They are part of the Saint of Steel series, of which in the end there will be 7 of them. There's 4 out already. There's a plan for 7 because in these books they are, so in this world, it goes back to the world of the Clockwork Boys. So if you read those books, but actually I thought these took place after that. They actually take place before the Clockwork series. But in this world there's a lot of different gods, and these gods will call people to them, so they get a vocation. So depending on what this god is over, is what the people that they call him to do. So like one of the big ones is the Temple of the White Rat, and the White Rat calls people to basically be advocates and attorneys. So that's kind of what they do. The Saint of Steel was a warrior, and so he would call soldiers and paladins, who were sometimes knights, to go out and fight, whether it be wars. In this, there are 2 city-states that are across a river from each other that are at war. But one of the gifts that he gave them was like a battlefield berserker kind of thing. So they would just like mow through everything in sight, but their god would keep them from killing innocent people. So like if there was an innocent in their path, the god would literally not let the sword fall or the spear or whatever, even though the soldier themselves were in like this berserker state. Okay, so in this book, you have 7 paladins, and they are all that is left from the Order of the Saint of Steel. Their god was killed. So they don't know how it happened. They didn't even know it was possible for a god to be killed. But when their god died, they all went insane. So it talks about people who are called by a god. They actually feel their god within them. They feel the power of the god moving within them. And so when their god died, that was all ripped away from them. And some of them literally went crazy, like went berserk and like became murder machines, killing everything in sight. And some of them were put down. Some of them like just fell into comas and they never woke up. Some of them committed suicide. And these 7 are all that's left. So they have been taken in by the Temple of the White Rat, and who basically just gave them shelter and gave them a place to recover. And in return, they do like little jobs for the people at the temple, like doing bodyguard duties or something like that. But anyway, in this one, Paladin's Grace is the first one, and it is about Stephen, who is one of these paladins. And it's been a minute since I read this. Oh, okay. And so he meets Grace, who is a perfumer. Makes perfumes. I think that's, she makes perfumes. Anyway, there is a visiting dignitary in this city-state that came to meet with the king and the prince, and he falls sick. He gets very ill, and Grace and Stephen get caught up in the mystery of what's going on. And also what's going on in this particular book is there are very mysterious murders going on where like they're finding headless bodies, and sometimes the bodies are like very decayed, like they've been dead for a long time, but they have no head. Sometimes they will find a head, but they find no body. And so there's a deal around solving that murder as well. So there's that. And of course, it's a romantasy book, so Grace and Stephen, that relationship. And it's a really, it's T. Kingfisher. So it's a bit like not your run-of-the-mill romantic couple. And they're so sweet. I love the way T. Kingfisher writes about PTSD in a fantasy world. Like she talks about the emotional and mental trauma of these guys, these 7 guys, in such a real way that doesn't in any way like undermine their masculinity kind of thing. Like one of their one of the guys, not Steven, but another one, has terrible nightmares. And they have learned through dealing with this is like 4 years or so after. They've learned through dealing with this, like, you cannot touch him or he'll go into a berserk. They all, they call it like going into the darkness. And when that happens, if they let that happen, or if they can stop it, but if they can't, or if they allow it to happen, they just go berserk. It doesn't matter. They enter a berserker stage. So, but you cannot touch him, Gavin, while he's having this nightmare. Hi, Nick. What's up? So yeah, while Gavin's having a nightmare, they can't touch him, but you sit beside him and talk to him. Steven knits socks. Aww. That's one of the ways he helps keep calm and keep that in. I mean, there's just other guys that do different things, and it's just so real and honest the way she talks about how they experience pain and regret for the things that they did when they entered that first stage after their God died, and the trauma that they still experience and the things that they have to deal with, and how, you know, they may not be able to have like a normal life, but yet how you move on with your coping skills for dealing with your trauma. And it's just so real, and it's so good. So good. So the last book I read is number 2 in that same series, which is Paladin's Strength. And it is, her names, he has a weird name. Paladin's Grace is about Istvan and Clara. And Istvan has been sent by the Temple of the Rat to kind of travel the countryside, because they're still trying to solve this weird headless decapitation body murder, right? So in the first book, the thing with the king being poisoned, that gets wrapped up in that book. But then we continue on with the headless bodies, or the bodies, or the heads without bodies. Bodies. Yeah, weird stuff. So Istvan has been sent out by the Temple of the Rat to travel the countryside to see, they have theories about what's going on by this point, and to see if there's any other kind of rumors or anything like that about this. And he meets Clara, who she is a nun in the order of the Saint of Ursa. And her sisters have been kidnapped. So their convent was attacked. All of the nuns were taken captive and carted away. And Clara was actually sick, and so they left her to die by the side of the road. She ended up being found and taken to this place, and she recovered and blah, 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 blah. And she meets up with Istvan. So Istvan's not telling her everything about who he is and what he's doing out there, and she has secrets too, which is pretty interesting what her secret is. So they end up traveling together. Like, he knows she's a nun, and he knows her sisters have been kidnapped, and being a paladin, because they talk a lot about how they're, you know, like suicidally helpful. And like martyrs, like, you know, they will like step in front of a bullet for anybody kind of people. And then feel guilty if, you know, somebody gets hit and they don't, kind of thing. It's a whole thing, the way she writes paladins. It's kind of funny. And they make fun of them for it. So it's never taken too seriously. It's always kind of a little humor in there. But anyway, Istvan says that he's going to help Clara get her sisters back. So they go off. They're heading to this one particular city. That's where they think that Clara's sisters have been taken, and it just so happens that that is where clues to Istvan's mystery are leading him to. And so they go into the city, and man, things happen and things blow up, and it's pretty interesting what her little secret is. And they end up like in a gladiator fight, which is kind of interesting. So anyway,
nice.
Lots of stuff happening. So it's an interesting place. I will say the mystery of the headless corpses kind of wraps up in here, but yet we kick off a whole new conflict because, of course, we have 4 more books to go. 5 more books to go.
Yeah,
that's only 2.
5.
There's 2 more that's out and 3 more planned. So I really enjoyed both of them. Actually, in both books, there is something of the miscommunication trope, but it really didn't bother me too much because
Surprising.
it was kind of realistic in that both of the couples at the time, like, were not in a relationship. They were just generally attracted to each other and things like that. But you know how when you're first interested in somebody and you're first going and you're in your own head and you're like, I don't know, do they like me? Do they not like me? Oh, I bet they don't like me because of this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just reading into things. That kind of miscommunication.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's understandable. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was like that, but even sometimes after they would talk it out, there would be a lot of in my head instead of just talking it out. So a little bit of that, but normally that really bugs me, but it really didn't this time. So anyway, I am going on, I can't remember what the next one is called, Paladin something, but I believe it is a male-male romance, because I believe the next Paladin brother that we're talking about is gay, so.
Nice.
Doing a little of that, and then there's some other things that have popped up in the city. The city's very corrupt and rotten to the core, and I think there's going to be a new mystery come out of that will carry into the next ones. But really good romantasy. I mean, stop with the dark fairy boy stuff. Dudes, read for real. This is good. This is good romantasy. Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows.
Good.
Good.
Undertaking
really good.
Apart in Mercy.
Yes, very good. I will say too about these Paladin stories, they are older couples. So you're not talking about 18-year-olds. You're not talking about 25-year-olds. These are older, more mature couples.
The better type of couple.
Yeah, yeah. People that deal with things without like blowing into explosive, irrational, whatever. So anyway, but sometimes dealing with more mature things, like Esteban constantly talking about his aching knees or his back. He threw his back out.
Oh, relatable.
He and Clara were like having sex and he threw his back out. That's kind of funny. So very real. I mean, T. Kingfisher writes real. I mean, it just feels very authentic. So anyway, that is it for me.
Alright, sweet. Well, then that means that's it for us.
Yeah, we're all done.
We're all done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about the books that we read in November. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go on down below the video and hit that little red subscribe button. Join the Everyday Adventurer family so you can see our beautiful faces every Sunday with new book videos. Also, be sure to go and check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Everyday Epic Book Club for even more bookish content and updates.
There you go. And while you're doing all that, be sure and check out the rest of Amy's channel, because it is not all about the book stuff. There is home renovations. There is home decor. There is kitties running around. There is shopping hauls. There is fashion. I have just learned that there is now cooking on her channel. And there is also, I always forget about the everyday,
Travel.
The roamers.
Everyday roamers.
They're everyday roamers. So a lot of like, you know, local stuff. Why can I not think of words today? Local flavor, local interest places to be and festivals and things like that. So make sure you go see that. Also, if you want more, she also has a blog. So you can go over and check out articles like Watch It Wednesdays, where she rates Netflix shows, and Foodie Fridays, where she does restaurant reviews. So check it all out and make sure you become a part of the entire Everyday Adventurer family.
Yeah. Alright, well, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the Everyday Epic. See you on the next one.
Bye.